going on, ladies and gentlemen? It is your boy, Sean Spencer, one half of that dynamic duo that's Let's Talk Football. Hey, what's going on? Happy Monday, people. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy December 1st, or December 2nd, actually. We are in the month of December 2024, is less than a month from being over. But before we talk about anything else, gotta shout out my guy. So glad we finally got together to do this talk. My man, Cam Byrd. What up, Cam?
How are you?
Oh,
It's good to be on the show. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. And Monday, it's December 2nd. We've made it through almost the end of the year.
oh yeah,
So flew
nice.
by.
I did. It really did. It really did. How was your Thanksgiving?
It was very good. I ate too much.
Ah,
I
I
ate
feel like
too much.
that's the
Yeah.
common theme, man.
Too much carbs.
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. I did the same. Visited the family, so we ate and ate and ate till we couldn't eat anymore. But it was a blessing. We had a lot of food.
Yeah.
I had a good time, man. I had a good
Yeah.
time.
We had like 8 different desserts and I ate 2 different apple pies. I was like, okay, I gotta like,
Oh yeah.
I gotta slow down.
For those of you that don't know, Thanksgiving is good, but it's those leftovers. Those
I know,
leftovers
right?
that are oof.
Yeah.
Crazy. I love it. I love every bit of it. Hey, look, like I said, it's my guy Cam Byrd. It's your boy Sean Spencer. We are here to talk. Well, not what we normally talk about. Don't adjust your screen. This is not the normal thing where we go talk football. No, me and my guy, we're gonna deal with some mental health talk, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody deals with it. Everybody goes through from time to time, from day to day, and we are just here to I don't know, share experiences, share our thoughts, share some ways that we can help get over it or help deal with it, and maybe hopefully, and whoever's listening, they hear what we're saying and it can help them. That is our ultimate goal. So Cam, what's going on,
Yes.
man? Let's start talking about it. Mental health. How is yours?
Um, it's good now. It wasn't. I mean, I'll start off with high school because I think that's where it kind of started. And so about I think ninth or 10th grade, it was I was taking about 8 classes each year, um, well each like semester,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like really depressed because I was more or less just like had a lot of pressure to like try to like graduate early and stuff like that. I was also playing football, and then my sophomore year to junior year I had a job, and then my junior year I had 2 jobs. So I piled and piled and piled and piled on myself on the things. Um, I also had a relationship, um, but and that was tough. And basically what I did was I kind of didn't manage it well. Like I kind
Yeah.
of just kind of bottled it up, all the
Mm-hmm.
emotions that I was feeling about the relationship, about the school. It was all overwhelming. And so about the end of 11th grade, I started to really pray about it and think about therapy. I heard about it a lot from family members and friends.
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of hesitant to start, so I waited till the end or halfway to the end of my senior year to do it. Um, I am next year will be 6 years, so of
Nice.
continual therapy.
Yeah.
I used to do twice a week. Actually, I actually used to do twice a week, but it was actually 3 times a week because I used to do group therapy and things of that nature, and then the twice a week would be the therapy. And then I got so like I started to really they call it discharge, like when you're discharged from a service.
Right.
Basically, when they discontinue your service because you're doing so well with the meds and everything.
Oh yeah.
Um, I got discharged from like three, and this past one I've been on it for 4 years. So for the first 2 years, it was just the group stuff and then therapy 2 times a week, and then now I've been having a consistent therapist for the past 4 years, going on 5.
Nice.
So it's been very helpful. I think everybody needs someone to talk to, even if it's not family. I know that can kind of be touchy, but having like a close friend, somebody you can trust, somebody that has your best interest in mind. Uh,
Mhm.
I think that's very important, and I think that's kind of been the turnaround for me, just finding people who also struggle but can kind of come together and can kind of help each other out, um, whatever that may be.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. That's and I think even bigger than some of that is just and I'm going to say shout out to you just being able to acknowledge that maybe there is something that needs to be discussed and then reaching out. I think that is key. I'm a little bit older than you, and I've also dealt with it. I mean, I went when I was 5. I dealt with separation anxiety from my parents, so I
Mm,
went to a therapist for couple years then. Um, but for several years I didn't, and I come from a background of, strong, strong black men, but it can be silent when it comes to addressing their feelings and addressing things that they dealt with. So I've always been taught that the best thing to do is to push it in. Somebody's always going through something worse than you. Just keep pushing and you will get through it, X, Y, and Z. But to your point, you cannot let that stuff fester. You can't let it sit in your system,
mm.
because it definitely will rear its ugly head. And sometimes it'll do it in ways that you're not prepared for. So as far as me, like, yeah, I it for me, I dealt with stuff in middle school and elementary school, but never really understood what exactly was. I just thought it was growing up. You know what I mean? Being a guy, dealing with emotions, dealing with relationships, those type of things. Now, for me, I didn't get into any type of relationship until I got into high school, and it was oddly enough, it was kind of the same time. My sophomore year, I had just moved to Herndon my freshman year, so I was kind of trying to assimilate to, everything in the new area, all these new friends, all these new people. And then by the time my sophomore year, I started to get a grip, or at least I thought I got a grip. And I was playing football. I went from being a nobody on freshman to my sophomore year, getting looked at by the varsity coaches, and with a couple injuries, all of a sudden, my name's heard over the loudspeaker on Friday nights. Everybody's like, "Yo, who's that guy? Number 22, number 22." And me, I'm not everybody can deal with fame and the accolades and the attention.
It's a lot
Um,
of pressure.
yeah, it is a lot of pressure, and I so much so I can go to one of the games I think my senior year where I had the PE instructor, the coach or PE coach in our school before one of the big games say, "Don't bother coming back to the school if you guys don't win." And for
Mm.
me, I took it to heart. I was like, "Oh my goodness, is it that serious?" I didn't think it was that serious, but we ended up beating them 28 nothing. I had a great game, but I mean, it was something where I never forget even after that game, like I bawled, like I was bawling my eyes out. Like we won it, and I just kept thinking about what that guy had said to me. And it's funny because I really didn't even interact with him much less throughout the end of my college term, or my high school term, but it was still one of those things that really truly affected me deep inside. But as far as that through football and obviously the pressure of graduating and everything, that was big. Then when you add in emotions, then when you add in the opposite sex, then when you add in females and relationships and that type of stuff, look, none of us are ever really taught how to handle that. None of us are really taught how to fully be able to cope. Our minds aren't, our brains aren't fully formed to where we can handle, you know, acceptance or rejectance or love or even the different emotions and feelings that our body's going through. And you throw all that stuff in the mix, and it can get rough. It can get
It can be a lot. Yeah.
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 I, I always like you. I always had my faith. I've always had a good family that I was able to that always supported me. I won't say, and no disrespect to them, but I won't say that they were always there or even that the door always seemed open to talk
Mm.
about these type of things. But again, it goes back to the background of growing up where it was kind of, at Thanksgiving, we separated. It was the men's club in the other rooms. You know what I mean? And we talked football and we talked about race and we talked about, politics and those type of things. Mental health was never one of those topics we talked about. If you
Mhm.
wanted to talk about your feelings, then you go into the other room with the women. And then it became that stigma of, when you're masculine, you don't talk about it. If you want to be feminine, go there. And then you have that whole separation where it's like, you know, what's wrong with being in tune with my feelings? What's wrong with being emotional? I'm not gonna lie. There's time I cry. I cry for a lot of stuff. I argue with God. What am I doing wrong? What is and it's one of those things. If you don't know
Mhm.
what's going on up here and what's going on in here, you're gonna reach for anything. So let's with that, let's kind of go into what are some ways, some steps or some ways in dealing with it. And I'll start. This stuff I do right here, you know, these shows, a lot of people think, oh man, you're just here to talk football, or you're just here to hear yourself talk, or whatever the scenario. But for me, a lot of people don't understand the background in these shows. Cam and I have been talking for the
Mhm.
last couple weeks back and
Mhm.
forth. Even if we're not going live, we've still been having conversation. Cam knows stuff going on with my car, stuff going
Yep.
on with, stuff I'm dealing with in the Let's Talk Football community and everything. And to some extent, I know a lot of what Cam's going through and what he's been through. And so one of the ways to deal with it, and I really want people to hear this, is to have a conversation. You
Mhm.
have to be able to open up and have a conversation with people. And I don't mean completely like spilling all the beans, like, oh, when I was 5, I wet the bed. Like I don't mean that. I mean being able to open up about how you're feeling at the moment. What are some things that bother you? What are some things that frustrate you? And figuring out ways to help with that. What is some of the ways that you are able to deal with, or some of the steps that you were able to kind of handle the mental health situations that come up?
Well, during high school, I just kind of sum up the 4 years because it was a lot of little things that happened. But basically, I wasn't honest with myself and where I was at. That was the thing of it, of me bottling stuff down. And with the therapy and stuff, I was there for 30 minutes, but I would only talk for 10
Yep.
because I would just be kind of in my own world, my own thoughts. Um, but like you even brought it up, like it's a lot of pressure for a lot of people because what is the cost of opening up? This is kind of what I went through is like, what is the cost of opening up? Like, okay, am I gonna lose a friend? Is my family gonna what is my
Right.
family gonna do? Like, is it
Right.
it's a whole lot of what ifs. And so what I started to do is I know it's kind of it may sound selfish, but I just was like, I don't care what people think. I'm just, you know, I'm having a bad day.
Mhm.
All I need you to do is listen,
Yeah.
and that's what I just started doing. I started saying that. Um, as I went to church, I started to really try to do what the pastors were saying, um, and funny enough, I don't know if Sean, I think you know this, but on my Instagram and stuff, I'll just post myself
It's all
happy, and then
it's all
sometimes I'll put a music video behind it. But when I post those football reels, I'm basically that's the way I cope. Like it may not be the rah rah, like going to parties and getting drunk, but it's more or less like just me focusing on my passion. And after high school, I really maybe like COVID year was rough, very
Mhm.
rough.
Mhm.
Everybody was isolated and that was a hard year. That was because
Oh,
uh,
definitely.
the girl I was dating, I was mentioning before, we dated from 2017 to 2019, and then after that was COVID year,
Mm.
and it was rough. Yeah, you talk about being in a dark place. It was, and I couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't escape. I just had to
Oh, yeah.
deal with it. And I
Oh, yeah.
think 2020 helped me a lot to push myself forward. I did a lot of things I wasn't proud of, but I'm
Mhm.
glad that now I've learned that those things are not acceptable if I want
Mhm.
to get to where I want to be. And
Yeah.
and it actually made me a lot stronger. I know when people say that the stigma around is like, well, but you have everything and you have everything going for you. You got so much going, but like you may I don't feel that way. I just feel
Mhm,
every day I feel like, oh, I got to get to the next day, and
mhm.
that's how I used to feel. And so every day when I wake up in the morning, I actually used to be mad when I used to wake up because I'd be like, why do I got to deal with this anymore?
Yeah,
So
man.
yeah, so that's I mean, but now I look back and I think like, well, I'm glad I'm doing therapy. I'm glad I'm meds. I'm glad I have strategies, coping mechanisms for the triggers and things of that nature. And like I'm glad that I can have people to talk to because if I have bottled all that stuff down to this point, it
Mhm.
probably would have escalated into something worse.
Oh, yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
so
And I think that's one of the key things, and one of the things that I wanna do, pick up on is that, you know, talking to other people is huge, but listening to
mhm,
people or having somebody listen to you is a very, very big deal. That alone lets people know or lets you know that somebody cares,
mhm,
and even regardless of the motivation behind why they're listening, whatever, it's that they care. Because I too have been in situations where it's like, dude, do I got to do this again? I currently had a situation, and I've talked to you about it, where you know like a month ago, I hit a pothole, had to get a new tire, ended up having to get two new tires. That kind of set me back, had my account overdrawn. I finally got the account back. Then I get a blessing of, a bonus from my job, just to come to find out that because I took a trip to my parents and my car got even more messed up. And then the entire bonus essentially was taken away because of the fact that I got to pay this bill. And on one side, you're like, dang, man, that stinks. But the other side, it's like, look, you've been blessed with this money, and and there's part of my head where it's like what people are saying to you, where it's like, look, you're blessed. Look, you got clothes on your back, a roof over your head, food to eat, a job. You have all these things, but it doesn't feel like that. It
mhm,
feels like I can't do anything, and part of that is social media, and that's one of the things I advocate, that you got to take your time when it comes to social media, because everybody puts their best foot forward. They put their best pictures up. They put their best vacations up. They put all the things that they're doing well, and that's sometimes the only things that you see. And when your brain is getting that, I mean, at this age, at me, I'm 41, and when you're getting that, it could really mess with you, because you start comparing what they're doing to you. I can only imagine what that would do to somebody in high school, or having to deal with that type of stuff. Um, Listening and having somebody to listen to, and even more than that, having somebody not judge you for what you're going through, or the fact that you feel comfortable enough to open up. I know there have been times where, like, to your point where you were talking about people, you got to get over that hump where it was you felt comfortable enough to say something, because not everyone wants to hear that. And me, I often deal with the guilt that I don't want people to look at me like, oh, here he goes again. Oh, this guy always talks about how depressed he is. This guy always did. Like, I don't want people to have that stigma around me. I want people to notice me as, oh man, this guy, upbeat, cool, life of the party, blah blah blah. But
mhm.
but that's not the way it is. And even to your point about the party thing, like that, when I grew up and when I was in high school and all that, that's what everybody did. That's what you were supposed to do. That was your networking, if you will. That's how you party with people, and or got connected with people. So I
Yeah.
would all of the females, or all my friends, through those situations, and then couldn't understand why every time we hung out, that's all we would do. Even to this day, I have people that hit me up, and whenever they hit me up, it's completely surrounded by trying to do something like that, and I had to say, nah, bro, I'm not with that. And to each his own what you do, but you have to know yourself, and part of that is doing these kind of talks and having these conversations with other people, because then you start to understand two things. Number one, that there is something in there that needs to come out, and it's healthy to get it out. But
Mhm.
also, other people might be dealing with that, and you don't know what they're dealing with. They might not know what you're dealing with, but you putting it out there is going to help them, because then all of a sudden, maybe you're struggling, seeing how you've been able to tough it out and fight through it and get through it. That can give them the extra motivation, because to your point, there's been many times where it's just like, dude, it's like it's not changing.
Yeah,
It's
it's
not.
too much. Yeah, too much.
Yeah. And it's frustrating. It is, man. It's frustrating even more than it's deflating. It's deflating to feel like you can't move an inch. Like for everything, every one step you take is two steps back. Like it's not it's not one of those positive deals. And it's it is too much at times. It is. It
Yeah.
is. But again, what some of the ways that to deal with it, I believe, is listening, talking to other people, hearing other people. Now, having that feeling that if I speak to you about something, that's between us, but more so that you are understanding what I'm talking to you about. You are, and even if you don't get it personally, it's that you you don't judge me or make me feel like I'm wrong for having those opinions, or I'm less than a man, or I'm less than a person because of the fact that I have those opinions and those feelings. That
Mhm.
that feeling of being just heard is so key. And a lot of times, especially with this microwave society, with social media and everything, these reels and shorts and everything being quick, 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 people
Mhm.
don't have the patience to sit for long periods of time. How many times have we gone through a video or a reel that's like, oh man, I want to watch this. And then we see it's like 10, 12 minutes long. And we're like,
Yeah, then we cut through it.
and that's how people are when you're having a conversation. If you don't keep their attention, they'll move on. Now all of a sudden I'm in my head because I've started this conversation and I feel like you're not listening, not you in general, but I'm, to the person.
Yeah,
I feel
yeah,
like you're not listening. Now all of a sudden I feel worse because now I'm like I'm burning you with this, and clearly you don't care as much. You know what I mean?
mm,
So a lot of it is knowing yourself. A lot of it is being able to talk to other people and to be able to deal and help them deal as they help you deal, because we all got to do this together. Um, and let's stay along those lines. Let's stay with some. What are some helpful tips in dealing with mental health, Cam?
Um, well, I have two stories. So back in 2011, I had a very severe dog bite, and the reason why I'm telling these two stories, I'll explain it in a minute. But I had a very severe dog bite. I was in the ER for about a day and a half, I believe. I don't quite remember everything, but it was 20 stitches, and for the first 2 weeks, I had to walk like a penguin. Well, I barely walked the first week, and I walked like a penguin the second week. And
Mm-hmm.
then I knew I was a very good cross country runner.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is what sparked the depression in me though, because I lost that like I was the fastest kid out there and I lost it.
Mm-hmm.
And the amount of work that I had to put to try to get back to the shape I was in was excruciating.
Yep.
Because it was like, well, instead of me running a 5 minute mile, I'm running a 6 minute mile, and it's just like it's kind of excruciating. So,
Yeah.
um, and then I mentioned about high school too, and you know, I just like there's just so much that was going on that to move forward to get to the place that I'm at now, those things don't ever go away. The feelings don't ever go away. The things don't ever go away. It's just like, well, you're just gonna have to like deal with it, like in a different way. Um, and then my second story is, um, well, so that sparked the depression, and then to get through the way I got through that was exposure therapy. I was in a house. I remember the lady. There were four dogs, China dogs,
Mm-hmm.
big dogs.
Mm.
And what she would do is she would put them on the stairwell, and I'd be out of the room. And one
Mm.
by one, she would have one come up to me. The first day I had a panic attack.
Yeah.
Actually, the first week, every day, because it was like a 10-day thing I had to do
Oh yeah.
to try to get over this fear. Now, actually, it's funny now. I have a dog now, so
Oh, nice.
and
That's hey.
I do dog walking, so there's a testimony there.
There you go.
Um,
Go.
um, so I see dogs on a regular day basis now. Um, and the other story I'll say is, um, I won't speak too deep into it, but Pete Davidson is another person that kind of not look up to, but like his story is
Mm-hmm.
really good. I remember after he dated Ariana Grande,
Mm-hmm.
he was really like you like the way he was describing how depressed he was. I just was like, yo, I can relate. Like, yo, it sucks because like I can relate to you. And
Yep.
ever since that story, I just was like, well, you know. And then he started talking about how deep depression can get and how it can linger through your whole life if you don't deal with it.
Oh yeah.
Uh, so with the dog bite and then the relationship stuff, I guess the best way. Well, I'll give you three. Time, give it time. Like obviously, the first months or couple months, or even a year after the situation, is going to be hard,
Yeah.
but just give it time. That's the biggest thing for me. I was so depressed that everything was just a day. I had everything by the hour. That's how
Mm-hmm.
depressed I was.
Yeah.
And then it was by the day, and then I got through a week, and then a month, and then a couple years went by, and I'm kind of starting to get back to stabilization again, and then the second thing is do you whatever it takes, because whether that's go across the country to New Zealand or taking a big trip on the cruise, whether it be by yourself or with a close friend of yours, finding something or starting a new hobby,
Mm-hmm.
finding something that you enjoy that nobody else can judge you,
Yeah.
nobody else can say, give you comments or whatever. Just block all that stuff out, especially while you're healing. That really helped me. And then the last thing is the Lord. I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't be here without Him. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. 100%. And I 100% echo your sentiment, especially on that last one. I mean, that's, you have to, and not everybody's going to go that route, but, you have to find some faith somewhere, in my opinion, because
Mhm.
that's one of the things that definitely got me out. Cause then I was more day to day as opposed to hour, but I know that deep, deep sorrow, that deep pain of just feeling hopeless and helpless and nothing's gonna change and what is it all for and everything like that. And at that time, like I said, it was closer to the late 90s. So mental health was looked at as, you being, lack of a better term, you being a sissy. You're not being tough. You're not a man. And people would say, "Oh, you dealing with this again, and you're dealing with that." So
Mhm.
shoving that down in there is never ever good,
Mhm.
ever good. I remember Urkel said, I don't know if you Steve Urkel from the Family Matters, but
I
he
think
said,
I've heard of him, but I've never really watched that stuff.
"Oh
But
my
go ahead, go ahead.
this just shows my age, man. I'm sorry." 80s and 90s, man. Oh, but look, on one of his shows, he was, a nerd. He was less popular and everything, and he used to get picked on. And I remember somebody once asked him, they're like, on the show, they're like, why, well, do you cry at home? Do you cry? So he said, no, or he said, they said, do you just hold it in and you cry on the out, kind on the inside? He said, no, that creates mildew on your inside. And
Mm,
I thought it was funny, but when you really kind of break that down, it does. Because when
mhm,
you hold it in, this is the temple. You're destroying the temple now. You're sitting here and raining on the entire parade and on the motivation and everything, and you really aren't doing things that are positive for you. So to your point, you have to find those things that are positive. So I'll second that for sure. For me, it is Let's Talk Football. It is these shows. It is being able to not only do that, but then have these conversations, these relationships with people like you, Cam, and a lot of the other friends that I've made throughout Let's Talk Football. And that to me is so helpful and beneficial to even where there's not a show, I can still have somebody where I have conversations. And the amount of voice messages, I know you and I have shared a number of voice messages, same with a lot of my other friends. And I'll tell them, hey, I'm not doing the best today. Things ain't going the best. I talked to you this morning, and as before I found out that I had to, you know, $2,400 daggone car bill for, some stuff.
wow.
Yeah. And I have to miss work. So then in my mind, there's money out of my pocket. Now I'm not, and it's one of those things where it can feel very deflating, depleting. Like, God, it's not why, but at the same time, we have to understand that what we go through in life, A, it's going to make us stronger. And B, you never know who's watching your battle. You never know who's watching the things that you're going with. And you are the only thing that's keeping them together. You're the only thing that's keeping them strong. So that's why, I mean, everybody, and to your point about, hey, do your thing, fight your race, run your race. You
Mhm.
can't, I can't, whatever somebody else is doing, whatever blessing God has for them, that's for them. What God has for you is for you, and it's going to come in His time, not your time, which is a very
Yeah.
big thing for me. Because for me, I'm like, just give it to me now, man. Like,
Yeah.
I want to be married. I don't want to deal with all these. I'm not somebody that likes to be dating all these different women. I just want to be married. Period. Let's just give it to me now. I
Mhm.
just got out of a 10-year relationship. Talking about relationships,
Yeah.
and you're so accustomed to having somebody there, but even when it's not the best for you all the time, you will still gravitate closer to that because you want to have that love. You want to have somebody that cares about you. And so you'll trade in longevity of being with somebody
Mm.
to an actual to maybe what you need. You know what I mean?
Self
And
sabotage.
yeah, right. And and I don't know if you've heard the term, but there's a term that used to go around in my day is cheaper to keep her. You know what I mean? And instead of going back out there and trying to date and trying to meet people or dealing with the depression of separation, X, Y, Z, I'll just stay here. And I already know what the issues are. I already know the game plan. It's like if it's like going back to what we normally talk about with football. It's like if you're a coach and you know the other team's tendencies, then you're gonna get complacent because you're like, okay, 1st and 10, okay, they're running to the right, or they're running up the middle.
Mhm.
Okay. Second and short. Okay, they might run a toss play. You know what I mean? Or they might run some play action. You know what I mean? You start to know the tendencies, and then when they switch it up on you, and they go pass on 1st down, and you're stuck in that run blitz, then all of a sudden you're like you're
Oh.
caught. You know what I mean? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly, exactly.
Oh.
Like, here we
Yeah.
go. Oh my goodness. So that's why we have to be able to address what we have going on. We have to be able to discuss what we have going on, and also to know who to talk to. You know, I can't talk to Joe Blow if I know Joe Blow is one of these people who talks ill about mental health. Now,
Mhm.
to each his own, do your thing. But for me, I know that's not going to help me. That's going to hurt me more than anything else. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So it's one of those things, man, where you have to. One of the things that I tell everybody, I know it, and I got two things. Number one, actually, I got three things. Number one, know what you're dealing with. When you know what you're dealing with, then it's easy for you to deal with it. And it sounds simple, but a lot of times we go into situations and we don't know what we're dealing with. We don't see everything ahead of time. I've been thankful to God for giving me the ability to discern a lot of situations where even so much as, about we were talking about partying and going out and being in the social scene, that's not right. That's not good for everybody. I'm
Mhm.
not. I would be in situations I remember in high school where I'd be sitting around a whole bunch of people, and it'd almost be like an out of body experience where I'm just in my mind like, "Oh, this person's fake. Oh, that person's acting this way. Oh, that person's doing that," and I would see it, and then I'd get to that point where like, "Why am I even here? Like, why am I even dealing with this?" You know what I mean? That's
Mhm.
number one. Number two, preparation over paranoia. Part of the thing with knowing what you're dealing with is preparing yourself, and I mean preparing yourself for every different avenue, every different thing that could come up. You know what I mean? Much like
Mhm.
a coach. You know what I mean? Prepare your offense, your defense, your special team. Prepare for interceptions. Prepare for injuries. Prepare for missed kicks. Prepare for all of these different momentum shifts and everything. Then when it comes up, you'll be prepared for it, and you won't be paranoid about it coming up.
Right.
That's number two. And my third and final thing is a three-parter. Okay, the AAA system. Not talking about your car. I'm talking about your day to day. A, analyze. You got to analyze the situation. What's going on? What is the problem? What's the negative? What's the positive? Two,
Mhm.
uh, adjust. Adjust how to cover it. If they're running a lot, okay, you might need to bring somebody down. If they're passing a lot, sit back in the zone. Maybe have that stuff coming back like that. And then number three, attack. Once you know what you're dealing with, once you know how to go after what you're dealing with, you got to hit it full steam. And that is what I mean about mental health. When you know what's going on in here and in here, you gotta be you gotta be 100% about it. You got to be continually going after it and uh trying to keep helping to improve yourself. And this is not just with mental health, this is with anything. Us, especially as men and as black men, we have to continue to try to improve ourselves. We can't
Mhm.
just sit in where we're at and ever think we can't ever think, oh man, I'm the best or I'm this, I'm the good at that. We have to continue to prove to ourselves and and keep building ourselves up so that we are ready for whatever's next. One thing I'm knowing about life is it's going to keep coming. The world's going to keep turning.
It's a cycle.
It
Cycle.
is. It is. So whenever we get through one thing, it's easy for us to kind of be like, oh, dang, we're good. To be smooth sailing. No, what happened? I got the tire out. I get the two tires back. They tell me the rim is bent. Then okay, boom. Couple like a week later, my battery. I have to go. My battery stopped. I had to go get somebody to take me over here. I got to get a new battery. Then, boom. I go to see my parents. Come back. My half my car is broken. You know what I mean? There's just it just keeps coming. And I'm not gonna even lie to you. And I've talked to you about this. I've dug deep. Like I've all been in my head about everything. Like, and how is this going to work? And why is this happening? Blah 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 blah. Whereas you have to be able to address what's happening, understand it, and then be able to keep moving through it. You know, because this isn't the last thing, and it's not the first thing. So you got to be able to keep going through. And sometimes you can't do that alone. I've had a number of people that have truly helped me, especially even in since the end of my relationship, where I've had people that I've been able to help, that I've been able to rely on, and it's been really truly a blessing. But even still, you still go through those mental health issues. So honestly, hopefully some of these tips helped. Obviously, I know Cam can second this, can attest to this. When you're going through and you're in the middle of it, none of that stuff seems to help. Your mind is just like you are deep down there. You have your blinders on, and you just feel like nobody knows and nobody can hear me and yada yada. But sometimes it's just about us wanting to be heard, or have knowing that somebody else is dealing with or has dealt with what we've dealt with. You agree with that?
I agree. It's like a tree with bear claws on it. You're gonna It's gonna be ripped apart. It's gonna be scratched up. It's gonna be That's how life is. But
Exactly.
you gotta keep
Exactly.
building a tree.
We're a mold, man. We're a mold, and we're continually being molded. I mean, my dad is 85, and still he just sent his resume out to my cousin. You know what I mean? To go do work because he's just one of those that got to keep working, got to keep working. My dad said, retiring was good, and mind you, he's retired twice. He said retiring is good, but he said the one thing about retiring is all you spend all your time watching the grass grow, and then you die. And
Mm.
that really kind of hit it for me because I was like, oh my goodness. In my life, I'm like, I'm 41. I'm like, I'm trying to work towards retirement. But if this is his thought about retirement, that's me. That's my father. It kind of plays tricks on your mind. So you have to, when you're going through this life and dealing with this stuff, you have to. I think you said something that was key. You said a goal. What am I doing? What is it about today that I got to make better? What is it? That's what you have to set. You have to set a goal. You have to set something that you're striving for. I'm not striving to retire. I'm striving to make sure that everybody around me eats. Everybody around me, their family is taken care of. Everybody around me is blessed and watched out for. That is what I'm striving for because you have to have that goal. You have to have that direction, and you have to be deliberate about it.
Mm.
So,
They always say the roller coaster of emotions, man.
yep.
It's like a cycle of life. One day
Mhm.
you're gonna feel good, and then the next day you're gonna be way down the deep end, and it's all about how you climb back up. And
Absolutely.
every day is
Absolutely.
gonna be a different battle, and you may not climb up the same way you climbed up before, but you just gotta keep going. So
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. I'm right there with you, man. So look, if you don't have anything else, my guy, I think
I do not. I actually wanted to say one last thing. If you are going through something, if you have, like if you're going through something or whatever, I strongly advise that you pray about it, talk to God about it, and get with someone that's close to you. Even that might seem hard, but find like a close friend, maybe your buddy or whatever, and just say, "Hey, bro, I need to talk to you." And just
Yeah.
get it out, and you'll feel better.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And definitely go second that and go with people that you trust. Go with people that you trust. Go with people that you feel comfortable with. And sometimes, hey, look, sometimes I want you to know people come through your life for a season. You know, I think a lot of some of the things in mental health that really messes with me, I know I can speak for myself, is when somebody that's been there. I like my relationship, 10-year relationship. Somebody's been there with you for 10 years, and then now that the we've gone our separate ways, it's hard to kind of separate that. It's hard to be like we were just close. Now it's now pushing you away. So people are going to be here for a certain time, and when God has you grow out of that or has them grow, or whatever the scenario, you have to be able to make that step and have that step out of faith on God that, hey, he's got your best interest at heart. Was Jeremiah 29:11. My uh
For I know the plans I have for you, says the
yes,
Lord, the
my
plans
man,
which I have for you,
my
not
man.
to harm you, the plans to give you hope in a future. Yeah.
That see that? And where I fall short, my brother picks me up. Yes, sir.
Yes.
But look, man, we are so glad you guys were here to join us, man, on this impromptu talk that we're having. Glad we were able to get together and talk mental health.
Yeah.
Cam, bro, hey, love you, man. I'm glad you and I got to link up. And look, let's stop be strangers, bro. Let's get this.
Yes.
Let's
Let's
do it
do it,
again.
man.
Do it
I
again.
know. Getting this new stuff in my system, and just starting to feel like me again. So starting
Yeah.
to do it, man. Let's
Oh, yeah.
let's get it. Yeah.
Bro, I'm all for it, man. I'm all for it, and believe it. I need it just as much as you, man. I constantly question, second guess, frustrate my own self. So when I
Yeah.
get to talk to somebody else and kind of vent and get some of that out of my system, it's truly a blessing, man. It
It feels
truly.
you feel a lot better, don't you? Like it feels a lot better. The situation may not change; it may be chaotic still, but when you start talking about it and just like, "Hey, bro, I'm struggling with this," like with your car and stuff, and we kind of work it through, and then
Hmm.
you're like, "Oh, I have a game plan. Somebody's here who also knows the situation. They
Right.
could either help me or give me some advice." So it makes it it makes it better.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. So for that, I want to tell you, I appreciate you, brother, for being able to listen to me and taking the time out to have these conversations and share this stuff with me, man. Because I'm gonna be honest, when I was your age, I didn't have that. Going through high school, right out of high school, I didn't have that person that I could sit there and say, "Hey, man, let me just shoot this off you real quick. Let me just chat with you real quick." A lot
Yeah,
of the people, like I told you, a lot of the people that at that point that were my friends,
yeah,
whenever we hung out, there had to be a beer, there had to be beer involved or something like that. There
yeah,
had to be, we're at a party, we're out doing something like that. Well,
yeah.
I mean, about that stuff. You know about parties and all that. That stuff skews the brain and everything. You totally
Right.
off focus. A lot of times you need this simple one-on-one conversation.
Mhm.
And we're never too old, we're never too young to have these type of situations, bro. So,
Yeah.
I appreciate you for it, for being able to rap with me, man.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Always a pleasure.
Always, always. Well, look, we're gonna go ahead and let you guys go. We appreciate you guys being here with us. That's my guy over there, Cam Byrd. This is your boy Sean Spencer. We will see y'all next time. Real quick, I'm gonna play my guy, Anton Benton. Awesome artisans. You need work done? Go ahead, go to my guy. Go to my guy. Does big things. Peace, people. We'll talk to y'all next time.
I guess.